changes, and how do you go about personally about dealing with changes in circumstances and situations, whether it's in business, in my case properties, or in life and your mindset. So how do you go about with these kind of changes, and do you have a fixed mindset or a flexible mindset? Now, the reason for this video that I'm doing is that it's come to me that changes is a normal part of life, and personally I'm going through a lot of changes myself, even on a daily basis in the short term, and the more of a longer term. You can actually see how far you've come if you were to really compare yourself to yourself now compared to where you might be a year ago. And especially prevalent when you start new things, such as if you're starting out to become a property investor. The first year is usually the year you look back quite fondly on as one that is quite exciting, because you don't know anything, you're just learning, you're absorbing all this information, and you're getting pretty excited, and you get the whole sense of feeling that everything might be all rosy and, you know, quite good essentially. And then you start doing it and realize it's actually not as easy as people make it out to be, especially those selling courses, but that's another story. But in reality, it does come back to also how well you adapt to changes, whether it is in your life circumstances or in business. So what actually kicked off this thought for me that I wanted to share in regards to, you know, being flexible and being able to change is coming through from myself. Obviously I've had to go through a lot of changes myself through doing properties and adapting to this market essentially. Obviously pre-COVID market and post-COVID market is completely different. For those that know and follow my content for a while now, I specialize in HMOs, and that was a strategy that I feel back then was one that I would be doing forever, and I won't change from it or deviate from it, because it's such a great strategy in terms of cash flowing, and that's always been a goal of mine, is to create a portfolio that cash flows a large amount or high cash flow. So with that though, and the change in market, situations do change, and I think it is important to have and develop a mindset that aren't resistant to changes, because I think as people we can be very set in our ways, I think is the term, and it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and sometimes when you are set in one strategy, it could be difficult to change to another strategy because of you needing to step outside of your comfort zone. Right, so the strategy that you might have used before and you know about, that's your comfort zone. So for me, HMOs is my comfort zone. So now with the way the market has changed and the original strategy doesn't work as well as before, I'm looking at new strategies, and with that comes a different level of going back into the unknown again and trying to figure out this new strategy or understand what is the risk involved and how it actually works. So that leads me on to going to looking at other things such as service accommodation. So the projects that I'm doing currently, my plan was to make it as service accommodation, with the fallback plan of it being HMOs. Now that processing as well, you know, the research, the due diligence they have to do, the risk management they have to do for these projects to then, you know, aim for that as a goal, it's a lot of work and there's a lot of uncertainty there. But the thing that underpinned it was my willingness to learn something new or step outside my comfort zone. And it's important that you are aware of this, and that essentially if something no longer works, don't be afraid to make changes and don't be stuck in your own ways. Now it is definitely difficult, and I do feel that some adapt better than others, But I think it's important to remember that in the long-term goals should still be the same, in my opinion, or you should have it not a drastic change on your long-term goals. Whereas the strategy itself to get there, I think you need to be making more decisions that are probably quicker decisions, rather than leaving it until it's too late in that sense. And there is a saying, I think I'm taking it from Gary Vee here, where he says, in the macro sense, be slow in the macro and quick in the micro with your decisions, which is basically means that, you know, the day-to-day you need to be very agile, very flexible with your decisions, and be able to make those changes to adapt to whatever situation that you're faced with. But in the long-term goal sense, in the macro, you should be slow in that. So if you got a goal, as an example, your goal might be to make X amount of cash flow or income every month. That is the ultimate goal. Like if I said I want to make 10k in net income, that is what I want in the long term, and how I do it, the method, the strategy, and the way that I will achieve that, that's the micro level. So that is what you will be needing to change. So it is important to not get stuck in your old ways, and have that mindset and develop the mindset to be able to look at things and not get too attached to your old beliefs as well. And that's another thing, is that we could get attached to things that have always worked, or old beliefs that we believe is true that's no longer true. So, you know, the whole thing about, some people might say before COVID, that mortgage rates was never going to go higher than what they were, right? The base rates are never going to go back to 2%, 3%, 4%, when in reality, where we are now, the base rates is at 5%, 5.5%, and looking to be more, which is a great shock to people that haven't gone through the cycle, right? So not being attached to your old beliefs is so important if you want to move forward and if you want to progress with your journey, essentially. I know this takes me back to the property that I'm doing right now, which again, I originally wanted to have it as a service accommodation, but since then that has changed, and now I'm going to go down a different route and a different strategy, which is the social housing and supported living route. Which again, if service accommodation is completely alien to me, then the social housing side is even more so, and I'm currently in the process of learning it and understanding it, and, you know, reaching out to more people about it, which is why, you know, I figured it's a good time now to document this and show you guys my process, because the content that I would have made for showcasing my houses, I would have said that I'm doing them for either service accommodation or HMOs. But now that I've redone the numbers, recalculated things, it seems like social housing is probably a better strategy for these houses, and for me moving forward, looking at different strategies that might give more security or better returns in the long run. And it's funny about the whole old preconceptions or your old thoughts about what you want to do or not want to do, because in the past, if you ask me, do you want to do social housing type tenants, I would definitely say that is not something that I'll be interested in, because I'm more of working professional and students as my niche. But now times have changed, and I've realized that I have to change my old ways of thinking as well, and accept the fact that you can do any strategy in your own way. So for me, social housing doesn't have to be dark and dingy houses and really nasty properties where it's the bottom of the barrel. You can provide better products, and what I want to do is actually take this model of doing my standard to HMOs and apply it to the supported living sector, because I think more people are more likely to cheap out in this sector because of the type of tenants that they are faced with. Probably advisable to not do to a better standard or higher quality, because the misconception or preconception of it is that it's just going to get trashed. Now I think there's a bit of truth in that, but I don't think that tells you the whole truth as well, and it's not fair to paint the brush across the board with the social housing type tenants. And it does come down to the demographics as well, and I think that if you have a provider that provides supported living for certain care of people, then it's not as bad as some of the horror stories make it out to be. So again, this is a change that I'm going through, and I want to document it and show you guys the thought process behind certain things as well, and how that might help you to make better decisions, to review your strategies and look over what you're doing right now. Is that something that you think might be better, or do you think another strategy for how you're producing, how you're creating income, or how you're doing your business is actually a better way, and to expand your horizons and learn more? So yeah, I hope this helps. This is like off the cuff, so there's no script involved. It's all just thoughts that I'm sharing, that comes to me throughout the day, and I think it's worth sharing because it might help you to make a decision, and if you're on the fence about certain things, make quicker decisions, because time is of the essence here, and if you think about it for too long without actually doing it, then things might just pass by and you lose opportunities. So I don't want you guys to lose opportunities, so this is why, you know, sharing these kind of thoughts and helping each other is a fantastic thing to do, in my opinion. So yeah, I'll leave this video here for now. Let me know if you like it, give me some feedback, give me some comments, you know, leave me some comments in the comment section. Give me feedback whether you like this kind of content or not, or if you have got any inputs about, you know, changing and mindset, and how do you go about dealing with things that you think you need to change. So hope everyone has a fabulous and fantastic day, and I'll see you all soon.